Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. We discuss everything in the world of soccer, including all the big storylines and the top games and competitions from all around the world. I'm Ben.
I'm Alex.
And we are back here on a Monday. And you know what I'm excited about, Alex?
What's that?
We are T-minus just a little under 12 hours from when I can play FIFA 17.
I thought you were going with Champions League. I was like, it's 24 hours. I'm just under 24.
It's about 26 and a half hours for Champions
just
League,
under
which we will talk about in this segment. But we are just under 12 hours from the launch of FIFA 17. I have played the game.
Did you play demo?
No. I did play that as well, but I have played the full game because it's made by Electronic Arts. EA has something called EA Access.
Do you have an Xbox?
Yes, I do. And you can have, if you subscribe to it, I got a free month when I pre-ordered the game. So you get a 10-hour trial of the full game.
Let me guess you played all 10 hours right away and you ruined it.
Before it even comes out, I have not done all 10 hours. I'm not sure exactly how many I'm on because it does not tell you. But I've got to be on at least eight and a half hours.
You're pushing it.
Okay.
You got another 2 games?
I got a few, and then I will be... But, I'm only...
I don't even think you're going to use all those hours. You have work after this, right?
Yeah, I do. So I won't be using all them.
Look
but
at
tonight
that.
I have the full
I'll go to your
game.
house. I'll use them for you.
Tonight I have the full game at 9 o'clock, and I am excited because it's my game. It's what I love. You know what I mean? Like, do you have Madden?
Yep.
I have FIFA. And tonight I will have it's back, a new year, a new installment of the game. I'm excited.
Madden / any Batman video game there is.
There you go. And those games are great. I might add.
Well, the new one's really good.
The Arkham games, those ones are all great.
But the Telltale series that's out right now, like they're the interactive, like you make the decisions, and it's like your mask as Bruce Wayne is just as important as your mask as Batman. It's a really cool because the story's really good. So
right,
and it's rated M. And there's blood and stuff, so that's cool. But no, yeah, I know how you feel because that's exactly how I am with Madden. So, I mean, you're in for a treat as far as I know. I mean, I'm in for a treat when I beat you in FIFA. So,
do you hear this guy? Do you seriously hear this guy talking?
No, are you? Okay?
We need to literally have a matchup. Okay,
live
we will
schedule
this. I will record it, and we will. We have to do it. So we'll do it one day eventually. But with that being said, let's get into the show. As excited as I am about FIFA, gotta be excited about our podcast for today. We're going to be talking in our first segment about the Champions League Matchday 2 preview. Kicks off tomorrow and Wednesday. The second game for every team, all 32 of them in the UEFA Champions League, previewing some of the top ones and maybe some of the teams that need a win most if they are looking to go on into the round of 16. We still have a lot of games, this is going to the second game. There's 6 games in the group stage, so still a lot of games to go, but every game is very important. Also, we're going to be recapping some of the impressive performances over the weekend. We had Man United win. We had Paul Pogba score his first goal. Definitely in the Premier League, the biggest win of the weekend was Arsenal's win over Chelsea 3-0. Going to be talking about that, as well as some other compelling storylines. We had PSG lose again to Toulouse, a big game, talking about PSG, why they're struggling so much in the French league when they were so dominant last year, and really for the last few years. And then we're going to be ending the show talking about the weekend slate of games, a lot of really important ones around all the leagues in the world, and you will have to stay tuned for that. So, Alex,
great.
It's going to be great, of course. So with that being said, Alex, let's go into the Champions League Matchday 2 preview.
You do Tuesday, I'll do Wednesday.
So I'm doing the Tuesday games. You're doing the Wednesday games. Okay, so for Tuesday, we have Sporting Lisbon taking on Legia Warsaw. Both teams without a point, so definitely a big result if they want to try in advance. It's going to be tough. Real Madrid and Dortmund. That is a game that will be Tuesday as well. Definitely, in my opinion, the best game of the sort of Matchday 2. We will talk about that as well. We have Sevilla and Lyon. Sevilla drawing their first game against Juventus, 0-0, but definitely a good result against a side like Juve. Then we have Lyon, who won their first game. We have Dinamo Zagreb, who Lyon did beat. They are taking on Juventus, a big game. If their Croatian side want to even have a chance, they're going to have to get a good result against Juve, which is going to be tough. Then we have CSKA Moscow against Tottenham. A big game, I'd say more so for Tottenham since they did lose their opener to Monaco, a game they were at home as well. So big game for Tottenham against Moscow, who is the Russian champs. Then we have Borussia Dortmund against Real Madrid. Definitely the best game, at least on Tuesday, but in my opinion, the best of them all. A really, really highly impacted game. I would expect, seriously, a lot of goals. Borussia Dortmund have been on a tear recently between the Champions League and their first game against Warsaw, as well as the Bundesliga. So Real Madrid coming off 2 draws midweek and then on the weekend in La Liga, so definitely going to be looking to get a win. Then we have Monaco against Bayer Leverkusen. We have Copenhagen against Club Brugge, and then we have Leicester City against Porto. Leicester City winning their first ever Champions League game against Club Brugge, and their first one obviously now taking on Porto, a good side from Portugal. So those are the Tuesday games. Alex, you have Wednesday covered.
I do. So let's do this. You ready?
I'm always ready.
So I'll present him. You go ahead and give me that beautiful analysis you've been doing.
I will try.
Excuse me, these allergies are killing me. Okay. Ludogorets and PSG are facing off together. PSG, I know, is having a slow start to the year in general.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a big game there in Group A. All 4 teams, Arsenal, PSG, Ludogorets, and Basel from the Switzerland League. They each have 1 point. I would definitely expect PSG to win this game. They've been struggling, though, especially in the French League. We'll talk about them in our next segment. But I would expect them to handle Ludogorets pretty easily.
Okay. Celtic and Man City. Man City clearly the leading team currently in the Premier League. Not Champions League, excuse me. And Celtic is the Scottish champion, am I right?
Yes, that is correct. The Scottish champs, Celtic, coming off of not a good start in the Champions League. They only lost to Barcelona 7-0 in their first game. And then against Man City, it doesn't get any easier. So they're definitely not getting, the start of their Champions League season with good results. Not necessarily against good teams either. Borussia Mönchengladbach still a good side, but probably the 3rd best team in that league. So Celtic having to go up against the top 2. Got to expect Manchester City to handle business.
Yeah, I imagine so. Napoli, sorry, and...
You all right there?
Sorry, I was adjusting my chair. Napoli and Benfica match up this week as well.
Yeah, you have a nice little setup there. Your feet up on the other chair. You look very comfortable, my friend.
I have a bad hip. I got to get it elevated.
Okay. Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Napoli and Benfica. Napoli with a win in their first game. So, Benfica, the Portuguese champions. Not necessarily the team they were last year, although Napoli isn't either. But I think this game could go either way. I'll take Napoli. Why not?
Okay, why not? FC Rostov and PSV Eindhoven.
I do expect the Dutch team, PSV, to win this game against Rostov. They are the Russian defending champs, so that's, not the champs, but still a good Russian side, Definitely a surprise. Kind of like the Leicester City for the Russian League of last year. Not necessarily winning it, but an improvement, a side that no one really saw coming. So I do think the Dutch powerhouse is PSV will handle that game. But this is the Champions League. It is soccer. It is so unpredictable. You never know. So.
That's true. You can never get soccer. Okay, now something that I'm sure you'll be keeping your eye on after a strong showing this weekend. Arsenal facing FC Basel.
Yes, so Arsenal are going to be at home in their first game in the Champions League against Basel. This is an interesting matchup because you have Mohamed El Neni, who came over to Arsenal in January. This is his former club, so sort of going against his former club. And then you have Granit Xhaka, who also his former club, FC Basel, and a club where his brother plays on. So you have sort of some compelling storylines between the two teams. Arsenal are the home team. I got to expect they're going to handle business at home. They played great. They haven't lost a game since opening day against Liverpool, which was 4-3 in all their competitions. So they're playing lights out right now, especially how they played Saturday. I would expect Arsene Wenger, the Arsenal manager, to maybe rest a few of his players midweek with a game coming up against Sunday against Burnley. I would expect maybe a little bit of resting, but not too much. Maybe he'll sit Alexis Sanchez or Mesut Ozil, but I don't expect anything other than that. So a big game, they all do count in the Champions League. I think Arsenal should be able to handle business at home.
All right, moving on to Besiktas and Dynamo Kiev.
Yeah, so we have the Turkish team against the Croatian team in Dynamo Kiev. I don't really know. Both these teams not really too highly ranked there, as they sort of go up against each other. I think it could go either way. This is a very important matchup when you're looking at the groups, but I'll take Besiktas. I'll take the Turkish team.
All right.
They did, get a draw against Benfica in their first game, so Dynamo Kiev not doing too well against Napoli, so I'll take Besiktas.
All right, moving to what should probably be the best game, at least in the best matchup on Wednesday's games, and that is Atletico Madrid and Bayern Munich.
Yes, so we have a rematch here of the semifinal last year, which Atletico Madrid did come out on top over Bayern Munich. But when you look back to that second leg at the Allianz Arena in Munich, it was a game where I felt like both teams had so many chances. Both teams had penalties saved. Bayern Munich were so close. They did end up getting a draw, but Atletico Madrid did have the away goal, which is oh so important. You have Atletico Madrid sort of struggling here in the Spanish league, coming off a good result over the weekend, 1-0 victory where Antoine Griezmann scored. You have Griezmann really going up against this strong back four and the sweeper keeper Emmanuel Neuer against Bayern Munich. I'm going to take Bayern Munich because I think they're just a better team. I would expect a low-scoring game, though. Atletico Madrid, in my opinion, have the best defense, best tactics with Diego Simeone in all of this competition, and maybe even the world, definitely in Spain. But you have Bayern Munich with so many class players, and then, like I said, at that back four with Boateng, Hummels, Philipp Lahm, and David Alaba with Manuel Neuer as their goalie, you're not going to get much past them, Bayern Munich. So I'll take Bayern Munich in a victory, but
it's definitely what I'm going to watch.
Atletico Madrid did beat them last year. Anything can happen. One you're going to watch for sure.
Oh, yeah, I am. Okay, and the last matchup, which is going to be quite a test for the team I'm about to mention, and that's Mönchengladbach facing Barcelona.
Yes, Barcelona is without Lionel Messi. He does have a groin injury he suffered last week. He's going to be out about 3 weeks. So definitely when you lose the best player in the world, it's not something that's easy to cope with. But you look at Barcelona, in my opinion, they are still the best team in the world. Neymar, Suarez, Iniesta, Ivan Rakitic, Sergio Busquets. They're just a powerhouse. I got to expect Barcelona is going to handle business. I wouldn't expect them to rest anybody. They should be able to beat Borussia Mönchengladbach quite easily, in my opinion.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
Yeah, that's definitely a highly anticipated week 2. A lot of great games. Like I mentioned, Dortmund, Real Madrid, Borussia Mönchengladbach, and Barcelona. You have Atletico Madrid and Bayern Munich. Think about this. You have, in all three of those matchups, you have a Spanish team versus a German team.
Yeah.
All three of those. And obviously, I guess you can maybe a little bit of leeway there with Mönchengladbach, but you have like 3 of the powerhouses of each country's teams
definitely
facing each other. You know what I mean? So
there.
Definitely some compelling storylines there to look at.
Yeah, it's going to be a good week. It really is. I think Tuesday's going to be a solid matchup. That's especially, like you said, Dortmund and Real Madrid will be the matchup of that day. And I definitely think Munich and Atletico Madrid on Wednesday.
Yeah, and then next week on the show we will be talking about the results from this and what the group sort of look like after 2 games. You're going to get a lot more sort of foundation for what your team might be possibly doing progressing forward in the Champions League. So with that being said, we're going to take our first break here at the GSMC Soccer Podcast. We're going to be moving in to talk about some of the top games over the weekend that happened, some good results, everything that is in the world of soccer. So with that being said, we'll take our first break here, guys, at the GSMC Soccer Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. We're moving into Premier League action from this weekend. Let's start with Saturday's action. We had 2 games that day. I know Ben will be happy about one of them. Middlesbrough taking on Tottenham. Tottenham came, nice little win there on top. 2-1 over Middlesbrough. And Arsenal with a 3-0 victory over Chelsea.
Yeah, in addition to a lot of other great results, which we'll talk about a little after this. But the biggest game of the weekend leading in is definitely Arsenal against Chelsea. We previewed it last week. And if you're a fan of the North London side as opposed to the West London side, as I am, you are coming out extremely happy. Arsenal had not beat Chelsea in the league, Alex, since 2011.
Okay, nice.
So
brisk 5 years.
Since Arsenal had beaten Chelsea in the league. And they didn't just beat them. They absolutely destroyed them. Arsenal come out on top 3-0 over Chelsea. All 3 goals coming in the first half. You have Alexis Sanchez in the 11th minute, Theo Walcott right away in the 14th minute, and then Mesut Ozil, the German wizard, scores in the 40th minute from a volley that I think he mishit, but when things are going your way, things are going your way. He mishits it, and it still goes in. So my takeaways from the game, Arsenal just really destroyed Chelsea. Absolutely. They looked more poised. They looked more composed. They looked like they absolutely wanted to win this game. They came out. They pressed Chelsea high. Gary Cahill makes a huge mistake, gives the ball right to Alexis Sanchez, which leads to their first goal. The second goal by Theo Walcott, just beautiful build-up play between Alex Iwobi, crosses it over to Hector Bellerin, who passes it right to Theo Walcott for an open net. A beautiful team goal. One you're going to see and just clap your hands, tip your hat as a beautiful soccer goal. Beautiful team play. Then you have Ozil in the 40th minute, absolutely with a nasty turn away from N'Golo Kante. He dribbles the ball the whole length of the field. He through balls it to Alexis Sanchez, who crosses it back to Ozil, and then he smashes a volley, sort of bounces it over Thibaut Courtois, the Chelsea goalkeeper, off the post into the net. So the 3-0 victory. Second half, they didn't really do too much. Still look strong. In my opinion, you had a lot of great standout performers from this game, but my hat goes off to Theo Walcott, a guy who's been scrutinized and criticized for the last few years at Arsenal. This year, he looks a lot more revitalized over on that right-hand side. His work rate has been impressive, getting back on defense, pressing high, stealing the ball back. He's always been a guy who's had great pace, but a guy who seems to not be able to convert. But he played exceptional on Saturday. Well, really everybody did, from all the way from the back. You think about Shkodran Mustafi, who they just signed before the deadline, and Laurent Koscielny. That center-back pairing looks absolutely great. They absolutely pocketed Diego Costa, who really is Chelsea's best scorer, and he's kind of an enforcer, you know what I mean? It seems like he's always giving Arsenal fits, Laurent Koscielny problems. He got Gabriel sent off last year in their game at Stamford Bridge. The enforcer for Chelsea is Diego Costa, and he was irrelevant on Saturday. Laurent Koscielny and Shkodran Mustafi absolutely pocketed him and didn't really give him any chance. They were pressing him all day. They really bullied him. Arsenal looked great. They've got 4 wins in a row now in the league, and they're playing Burnley on Sunday, a side that just got promoted. Although it is a road game, definitely a winnable game. Arsenal's next 6 or 7 games between the EFL Cup, the Champions League, the Premier League, they all look like winnable games. So definitely for Arsenal, playing great right now, and they're 3rd in the league. So you gotta give them credit. You know, I mean, they've been doing great.
All right, moving on to Sunday's action. Only one game, and that was between West Ham and Southampton. Teams that aren't really doing much of anything in terms of the table this year.
Yeah, one team
Southampton's 9th. West Ham's
all the way at 18.
9 lower.
You know what I mean? West Ham's all the way at 18. This is, in my opinion, been the biggest disappointment of any team so far in the Premier League is West Ham. Think about last year. They finished 7th. They were challenging for, a top 4 spot at one point. They finished 7th, so they have European football in the Europa League. They're already out of that. They opened up a brand new stadium, the London Stadium. West Ham, a lot of emotion, a lot of energy from their fans, but they just have not been doing well at all. We talked about them signing Simone Zaza from Juventus on a loan on our transfer show as a reason that they needed to sort of bolster their attack. But you know what? They haven't been scoring goals, but they haven't been able to stop people from scoring goals. They have given up 16 goals. That is the most in the league. They gave up another 3 against Southampton on Sunday. West Ham were doing so great. They have so many good players. Dimitri Payet is one of the best in the league, and he has just not been able to get anything going. Slaven Bilic, their manager, looks like he might be getting fired. It's just not going well for West Ham. They need to find a way to stop allowing in goals, because right now they're sitting in the relegation zone for a side that was so good last year. It's really quite surprising. So, Alex, I know you're excited about this because on Saturday we had sort of a highly touted matchup. We had Manchester United going up against Leicester City, the champions of last year.
Yeah.
United come out on top 4-1. They played absolutely great. Sort of the big storyline here is that Jose Mourinho ended up benching Wayne Rooney. He did not even play.
I don't
he didn't start him. You're not a fan of that move?
I don't understand it. I mean, I reserve judgment for moves that I don't know the reasoning for. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting to say the least. I mean, Wayne Rooney is practically Mr. Man United, and I wonder why he got benched, really,
Well, Wayne Rooney's really just not playing well. He has not played well all year long. They benched him. They put Juan Mata in his role. And Mata played great. In my opinion, he was the man of the match in that 4-1 victory over Leicester.
Yeah, you got to do what you have to do when you're not playing well, regardless if you have to bench a franchise great,
Yeah, Jose Mourinho, in my opinion, has his hands full with who to start in this lineup because Marcus Rashford scored again. He's looking almost undroppable right now. I realize he has a little benefit because Anthony Martial was out with a groin injury. He did not play, so he was able to play on that left-hand side. But you put in Martial in that lineup, he's a solid player. You have to start him almost every week. You have Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who's undroppable.
Man.
You have Paul Pogba, who's undroppable. He was not playing too well, but he did end up scoring a goal on Saturday, his first back at Man United. It was a header from a cross off a corner kick. So he scores his first goal. He's still a valuable part of your team. You paid the most money ever to bring him in. He's undroppable. So where Wayne Rooney sort of fits in this lineup on a regular basis, I don't really know because Juan Mata did so well. You have to keep on with that lineup. You can't just switch it out after one game, you know what I mean? So I think Jose Mourinho has his hands full as far as what he does with Wayne Rooney. He's, like you said, he's sort of Mr. Man United along with some other greats. I mean, think about Manchester United football club.
Past in general, yeah.
One of the best ever. So he has his hands full. But on the flip side of that, we have Leicester City. They have 3 losses now through 6 games.
Yeah.
They had 3 losses the whole entire year last year.
Mm-hmm.
They've already lost just as many games. They just don't look like the same side they were last year. Obviously, last year kind of a fluke, a surprise. They just don't look like a good side right now.
Yeah, they're sitting at 12th currently, not doing much. But how about Liverpool with a 5-1 win over Hull City this Saturday as well?
Yeah, Liverpool absolutely trashed Hull City. They had a man down in the 29th minute, and then the floodgates opened up from there. 5-1. Liverpool currently sit 4th in the league.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing absolutely great. They had that one sort of let-up against Burnley in the second game of the season where they lost 2-0. But since then, they've been flying high. They beat Chelsea. They got a draw with Tottenham in a game they probably should have won.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing absolutely great. On the attack, they are unbelievable, absolutely incredible. So many great players. Roberto Firmino, Philippe Coutinho, Sadio Mane. Adam Lallana's having a great season so far. But then in the defense, I still have a lot of questions about Liverpool. Still not that strong on the defense. So we'll have to see how they do against some of these other top clubs in England as they battle in the rest of the season.
And one more of the notable games, Man City, the obvious leader of the Premier League, 3-1 win over Swansea City. Swansea City just dropping, currently 16th in the Premier League table. Man City obviously is number 1. Something I like about the top 10 I'd say top 8 relatively, is they're all really close within one another, excluding Man City, who's starting to kind of go with it. 7 lost this year at 18. Tottenham's through Man U is 2 points separate, through 2 and about 6. They're all in there. But yes, Man City continued a dominant start to the year, 3-1 over Swansea City.
Yeah, it's 6 out of 6 for Man City now. They look absolutely incredible. Raheem Sterling looks like a whole new player under Pep Guardiola. If there's one knock from this game, it's that Kevin De Bruyne, in my opinion, who's been the best player in the league this year, that midfield position for City. He did exit the game in about the 80th minute with a hamstring injury. Reports are he's going to be out about 4 weeks. Hamstrings, with football in America, the National Football League, hamstrings are those one injuries that kind of linger on. So we'll have to see exactly how long De Bruyne is out. It's going to be about 4 weeks reported, which there is an international break mixed in there, so he might only miss about 3 games, KDB. But we'll have to really see if it lingers. This is a big loss, in my opinion, for City, because he, along with David Silva, really the maestros of that midfield. In my opinion, more De Bruyne, though, because he creates so many chances and he gets forward and can even create a lot more goals than Silva can. So this is a big, big loss for City in my eyes, and they're going up against Tottenham on Saturday, a big, big game, which we'll preview in our next segment.
Yeah, so I was going to say, actually, did you want to move into another league, or do you want to preview this, take a break, and move into our other leagues?
No. We can do some other leagues. There were some
Cool.
There was a lot of good games over the weekend.
Let's move into the Bundesliga.
Let's do it.
All right, so the Bundesliga was a pretty, like you said, pretty big week in the Bundesliga as well. Dortmund, Borussia Dortmund had a 3-1 win over SC Freiburg. Bayern Munich 3-2 over. Bayer 3-2 win over Mainz. Bayern Munich had a 1-0 win over Hamburger SV. Mönchengladbach 1-2-0 over Olgenstadt. Werder Bremen 2-1 over FC Wolfsburg. Sunday had Hoffenheim over Schalke 2-1. It's a pretty good week in the Bundesliga for sure. You know, I keep finding more Bundesliga games on TV.
Yeah, it's really sort of a league that's getting showcased a lot more here in America, which is great. I think a lot of that has to do with maybe Christian Pulisic, the United States player that plays for Dortmund. And Dortmund's flying high right now, coming off a 3-1 win. They had a 5-0 win last week. They're the top scorers in the Bundesliga right now. They have even more goals than Bayern Munich, who sit atop the table. They have, although it is one more goal, but they are scoring a lot more goals, and that's really good for Dortmund. I think that'll help them as they battle for the title against really Bayern Munich. In my eyes, you have a lot of other great teams that are doing good. FC Cologne hasn't even lost a game yet. They're looking at 2 draws with 3 wins. They're third in the table with 11 points. They're looking great still. A lot of great games to go, but it's still early. Only played 5 games. So there's still a lot left, but Borussia Dortmund is scoring at an all-time high right now. That's why I think the game against Real Madrid tomorrow is going to be a highly goal-scoring game. I think both teams can easily score at least 2 goals against each other. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich handling business so far. Dortmund does sit 3 points behind Bayern Munich because they did have a loss, and Bayern Munich just look absolutely incredible. They've only given up 1 goal through 5 games, so they look on. They're
top. Looking pretty on it. Excuse me. All right, moving to La Liga, the last of our league reviews for the week recaps. We have Friday's action: Real Betis over Malaga 1-0. Atletico Madrid with a convincing win 3-1 over Sevilla. Barcelona with what you could say is a very convincing win over Sporting 5-0. Real Madrid drew with Las Palmas. And Eibar and Real Sociedad 2-0 in favor of Eibar there. Sunday's action, we had Atletico Madrid 1-0 over Deportivo. Celta Vigo 2-0 over Espanyol. And Villarreal over Osasuna 3-1. And Valencia over Leganés 2-1. And, of course, we have a match tonight between Granada and Alaves. Actually, today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, tonight over there in Spain. But
to
me, the big storyline is that Real Madrid have got a draw in each of their last 2 games. They had a lead in their last game, but then Cristiano Ronaldo comes off in about the 76th minute. Not too happy about Zinedine Zidane's decision. Really vocal there on the.
He wasn't too happy, or you weren't too happy?
Real Madrid forward Cristiano Ronaldo was not happy.
Okay, gotcha.
So on the side there in sort of the bench, he was not very happy. And I guess you could say, for rightfully so, because they had a 2-1 lead, and then they end up drawing 2-2, which is a very, very big point. They drew midweek against Villarreal. You had a big matchup against Barcelona and Atletico Madrid on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Those 2 teams got a draw as well. So for a chance for Real Madrid to get a lot more points and sort of progress in this La Liga table, for them to drop points there at the end is gotta be tough. So they still do sit atop the league with 14 points. But Barcelona and Atletico Madrid are right behind them, 13 and 12 respectively. So they can't take anything for granted. They got to keep pushing hard. You know what I mean?
I'm with you on that. All right, let's take one last break. We're going to come back and we're going to preview some week's action heading into this weekend in those leagues we just previewed. How about that? Sound good?
Yes.
All right, I like your answers. All right, let's take our last break. We'll come right back here at the Golden State Media Concept Soccer Podcast. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be great.
Do You want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do. All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. Before we talk about some of the top games in the weekend, one of them we'll actually preview is going to be PSG and Bordeaux. They're going to be playing this weekend. But I want to talk about PSG because they are really, really struggling in my eyes in Ligue 1, the French league, coming off of a 2-0 defeat on Saturday against Toulouse. Toulouse are doing quite well this season. They are currently sitting at third in Ligue 1 with 14 points. But this is a side who finished 17th last year and sold, in my opinion, their best player in Wissam Ben Yedder over to Sevilla. So they're not doing they're not necessarily PSG, you know what I mean? And they end up losing 2-0 to PSG, and they have a man down. They're not doing too well. They're sitting fourth in the league right now with 2 losses. They're giving up a lot of goals. They've given up 8 goals. You know what I mean? They're not necessarily what they were last year. How much of that, Alex, do you think has to do with the departure of Zlatan Ibrahimovic to Man U?
I think a lot. He's veteran presence there in the team. He's definitely a goal scorer for the team, and he was somebody who you didn't have to worry about. You know, you had that spot solidified, and now it's not quite the same. You know, you have somebody new in that spot for the first time in a while, and you're really seeing the difference in cohesiveness, with the team.
I guess there's some truth to that. I think not so much with the goal-scoring threat because they still have 15 goals, which is tied for tops in the league with Monaco. Mm-hmm. But I think it's more of that leader presence, as you mentioned. Cavani is able to score goals, although he doesn't have the same conversion rate as Ibrahimovic. To me, it's been what they're doing on the goals allowed because they've given up 8 goals. That's a lot for PSG. Aside, when you look at them, think about some of the defenders they have. Livan Kurzawa over on that left-hand side is a good defender, can get forward and attack really well. You have Thiago Silva, who in some people's eyes is the best central defender in the world. You have Marquinhos, who's young but still, developing quite well. They sold David Luiz to Chelsea back on transfer deadline day. I think that maybe has a little bit to do with it because Luiz is so good on the ball. And that center-back pairing with Thiago Silva is something that Brazil do for the national team, so they have sort of some chemistry already. But I think it's more so to do with sort of a leadership role. Ibrahimovic not there anymore. They have that void. And with the new manager coming in, Unai Emery, he's trying to install new tactics and change the way that PSG are playing. And they maybe aren't developing the way he would have hoped so far. So it is still early in the league. There's 7 games in. They still have a lot of season left to sort of get things going on the right track. To me, the big surprise has got to be Nice. They sold, in my opinion, their best player from last year, Ben Offra, yes, to PSG. And he's not really fitting in quite well there either, is Ben Offra. But they bring in, of all people, Mario Balotelli, who the last couple of years has really, really struggled. Looks like a total outcast. And what does he do? He's got 3 goals in 3 games for Nice. He looks like their best player all of a sudden. And they're undefeated with 5 wins. 5 wins and 2 draws.
Change of scenery right there.
And sitting on top of the table, they've been the big surprise to me. I got to think PSG can sort of right the ship. But they've been really the big disappointment, in my opinion, of world football so far this year. Just disappointing. And as I mentioned, they will be facing Bordeaux over the weekend. That game's on Saturday. Bordeaux sit 5th in the league with the same record as PSG, only behind on goal differential. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a big game for PSG. They need to sort of right the ship in my eyes.
All right. Well, we'll definitely, obviously, that's another game we'll update you on Monday as well. Let's move to La Liga. Let's preview some Week 7 action. We have Real Sociedad and Real Betis playing on Friday. Granada and Leganes on Saturday. Osasuna and La Palma. Sevilla, Alaves. Deportivo and Sporting all on Saturday. And then probably the biggest day of the weekend, and that's going to be Sunday with Valencia and Atletico Madrid. Real Madrid and Eibar. Atletico Bilbao and Malaga. Barcelona and Celta Vigo. And Villarreal and Espanyol all on Sunday. That's a big week.
Definitely. Every week is big. As I mentioned, for these top 3 teams, we've talked about it on the show before when we did our La Liga preview. Mm-hmm. These top 3 teams in Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Atletico Madrid, they have to get the results they're supposed to against these lower talented teams because if they don't, you know the opposition is going to. You know what I mean? They have to get these really important, like we talked about Barcelona losing to Alaves a couple weeks ago. Huge loss, not necessarily just for the 3 points, but a game they should have easily won 3, 4, 5-0. You know what I mean? So it's really important that these sides get the results that they should against these top teams, because when they battle each other, anything can happen.
Definitely. Okay, moving to Bundesliga, we have Friday action between Leipzig and FC Augsburg. And it's an early game. Most of these games are going to be early here, as a matter of fact. Saturday, we have probably the biggest day of the week for the Bundesliga. FC Freiburg and Eintracht. Hertha BSC in Hamburg. Ingolstadt and Hoffenheim. Darmstadt and Werder Bremen. Bayern and Dortmund, Borussia Dortmund. Bayern Munich and FC Cologne. Wolfsburg is moving on Sunday against Mainz, and Schalke versus Borussia Mönchengladbach on Sunday as well.
Okay, so are we both in agreement here that Cologne get their first loss of the season against Bayern Munich, or do they maybe get a draw?
I would
squeak away with a point.
I would say they're going to have a loss for the first time this year. Bayern Munich is playing so cohesively,
they're so solid.
so solid all the way across the board. So I don't see them. I would say nothing more than a draw, but I see Bayern Munich winning this one.
To me, the big matchup of the weekend is Borussia Dortmund against Bayer Leverkusen.
Yep.
Obviously, look at Bayer Leverkusen. Think about Chicharito coming off of the hat trick over the weekend.
On fire.
That 3-2 win over Mainz. He is en fuego. He is caliente. You like that? So against Dortmund, a side that are just scoring goals with the best clubs in the world right now, that's definitely the biggest matchup of the weekend, and an important game for both sides. I think if Dortmund want to keep up with Bayern Munich, they're going to have to get a win over Bayer Leverkusen. And if Leverkusen want to continue on their Champions League run from this year, they're going to need to get a good result against Dortmund to get up there for next year.
Definitely. All right, moving to the last league preview for the weekend before we get out of here, and that is the Premier League. We have this Friday, Everton and Crystal Palace taking on one another. Moving to Saturday, we have Swansea City and Liverpool, West Ham and Middlesbrough, Hull City taking on Chelsea, Sunderland and West Brom, and Watford and Bournemouth. Kind of a slower Saturday, if you ask me, other than the Liverpool and Chelsea games there. Excuse me. And then moving to Sunday, that's the really marquee matchups that you're looking for if you're a fan of those. Manchester United taking on Stoke City, Leicester City and Southampton, Tottenham and Man City, and Burnley FC facing off against Arsenal.
Yeah, I love how you did that accent.
Thanks,
there.
man.
But the top game of the weekend in the Premier League has to be Man City against Tottenham, 1-2 respectively in the Premier League table. It's a big, big result for both teams. Unless we have a draw, one of these two teams is going to have their first loss of the season.
Yeah.
Like I said, unless we have a draw, which is very capable.
Very capable between these two teams.
You look at both. You look at both teams though, and you have to say they're at least one of their few top players on each side is going to be out. So you have Harry Kane for Tottenham, the English striker, out. He was the Golden Boot winner last year. Provides a lot of goals for Tottenham. He's out with the ankle injury.
Yeah.
They did okay without him last week. You had Son get a brace, the South Korean winger, get a brace against Middlesbrough, 2 goals. And then you have Man City, as I mentioned in the last segment, without Kevin De Bruyne.
Yep.
So you have both sides limited without great stars, but it's going to be a tough game. Man City are rolling right now. They have not lost. They've won every one of their games. I gotta think that until they lose, I have to pick them, right? So I'll take City. As a neutral fan, if you're a fan of United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, a side that's sort of chasing both these teams, you're gonna hope for a draw because both sides drop points. I would expect a lot of fireworks, a lot of goals. Both sides really capable of scoring a lot of goals, even though Tottenham don't have Harry Kane. But I gotta think Man City win without De Bruyne still. They've won all their games,
Yeah, I'd say Man City wins this one. I would like to see them lose.
As a Man United fan, of course you would.
Or at least a draw, but take what you can get.
We have another Man City game. We have another Manchester derby scheduled in the 4th round of the EFL Cup. So while I do think both sides are going to rest a lot of solid players when you look at the EFL Cup, the League Cup, a lot of teams don't really take it serious until the end. So I think you're going to see a lot of stars arrested, but still, it is a Manchester derby. They all
matter to me.
They all are taken seriously. So that will be coming up in a few weeks. But, Man United taking on Stoke City, who currently sit at 19th place. You got to think that the Red Devils are going to win again. Coming off their result against Leicester, how they played, and now an easy opposition against Stoke City. You got to think they're going to come out on top.
I'd like to think so. And
then we have Arsenal against Burnley, as I mentioned, a game that Arsenal are very capable of winning. You have Liverpool battling Swansea City, a game that they should be able to win as well. To me, the big game is Everton against Crystal Palace on Friday. That's a game that could maybe slide under the radar. You have Crystal Palace, who just sold Yannick Bolasie to Everton, so he's going up against his former club right away. You have Crystal Palace, who just squeaked by with a win in stoppage time, a header from Christian Benteke to give them a win over Stoke City, 3-2. You have both sides playing quite well. You have Everton, who had their first loss of the season against Bournemouth 1-0. And then you have Crystal Palace, who sit at 10 points, tied with Chelsea for 7th, 8th, respectively, depending on goal differential. So you have 5th and 7th, respectively, in the table. You have a marquee game, standalone game on Friday night in the UK. A big game for both sides. I think it could go either way. Everton are playing a lot more consistent. I got to take the Blues in that game.
All right. I like your analysis.
I try, buddy.
Well, that's it for us today. That's it for us this week until we're back on Monday.
Yes, and we will be talking about Champions League Matchday 2, some recaps, a lot of great games over the weekend in all these respective leagues, as we just mentioned, and then previewing even more before an international break. So, of course, if anything else happens, we will be talking about it here on the GSMC Soccer Podcast, because that's what we do here.
That's true. That's what we do.
But with that being said, Alex, as you mentioned, that's going to conclude the show today.
It is. As always, you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play at the GSMC Soccer Podcast, as well as on YouTube and Facebook if you search GSMC Soccer Podcast. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GSMC_soccer, as well as on our website, gsmcpodcast.com. For all of your wonderful news in soccer and others, you can find our Twitter page, like I said, where I'm sure you'll see retweets by wonderful Ben here. If you want soccer knowledge, man, he always gets it. So, as always, we're back on Monday to talk a great world of football in terms of news. And until then, we'd like to remind you to find all of our shows. Ben does baseball, Ben does sports with me, Ben does sometimes football when I'm not here on Fridays. I do football, I do sports, and this is our soccer show, don't forget. As always, I'd like to thank you guys for listening. I'm Alex.
I'm Ben.
We'll see you on Monday. You have a good week, and enjoy your football.